Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watch You Want, and thanks for logging on. Today we're looking at the Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso Grande Taille. You can see this 18-karat rose gold Reverso on our website, watchyouwant.com. Purchase it there if you like, and if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Watch You Want Inc. You can also click the card in the upper right-hand corner of the video at any time to see our full listing for this watch with warranty remaining, accessories, extra photos, and of course, full pricing information. On my wrist, 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters in circumference, you can see that the 1991 to present Reverso Grande Taille case really is executed in more traditional proportions than many of the 21st century oversized Reverso variants. Now, from lug to lug, the Reverso Grande Taille measures 42 millimeters, and that's between the outer extremity of the conical lug and its counterpart on the opposite side. It's also remarkably narrow, being 26 millimeters across the broad of the case, and at only 10 millimeters thick with beautifully sloped case flanks. This will slide under any dress cuff or tight sleeve. Now, I should mention that it was called the Grande Taille when it debuted as the case for the 60th anniversary Reverso in 1991, because back then, this was the large Reverso option. The traditional Reverso is actually 38 millimeters lug to lug. Today, that one's still in the collection. It's known as the Classique. And this one, which is sort of a waypoint between the Classique and the modern oversized cases, has become something of a gentleman's or connoisseur's choice in the Reverso catalog. Now, the watch is paired with a beautiful monotone stitch, dark brown rectangular scale alligator leather strap. It's minimally bolstered as it approaches the conical lug end so that it flows seamlessly into its junction with the case, and because the Reverso lugs are drilled fairly high, there is a nice seamless fit between the end of the strap and the end of the case, such that there's really no daylight showing through. It reads all of a piece. It's very fluid from an aesthetic standpoint. However, because there's really no constraint on the movement of the strap within the lug, you can see that if you have a smaller wrist, this is not one of those Reversos that will cause the strap to flare outward and create virtual diameter or virtual span. This one really will pull straight down to conform to the curvature of a smaller wrist like my own. And that's actually why I own, personally, 2 Grande Taille case Reversos, and I'll bring those out for comparison purposes in just a moment. Now, JLC does include a manufacturer pin buckle. This is made by JLC, as is the case, as is the movement. It's beautifully finished. It's also wonderfully simple. It maintains the vintage sort of aesthetic, the vintage sensibility of the Grande Taille, and it allows easy adjustment on the fly if you are wearing the watch in hot or cold weather and your wrist size happens to change on the fly. But the watch is really defined by the combination of rectilinear geometries and the so-called golden section proportions. Now, the Reverso was conceived in 1931, originally as a sports watch, the idea being, back then, all watch crystals were glass, so when you're playing polo, and it was designed for British polo players in India, you could simply flip the case over and bear the metal case back to protect the crystal itself from the blows of polo mallets. Now, in time, the case back became a canvas for personalization, enameling, lacquer, even engraving of family coats of arms, mottos, special occasions in one's life. But that was the original idea. Today, again, it becomes more of a canvas for personalization of the watch, and as you can see, this particular example is tabula rasa. But the machine aesthetic of the Reverso was a product of the Art Deco era. The rectilinear geometries, the contrast between the vertical sweep of the case and its conical lugs against the horizontal sweep of these gadrones. They're known as gadrones or gadroons. They're basically etched channels, 3 of them, top and bottom, that move across the case and actually wrap around the case, straight through the case back and along the flanks. Now, the watch also features pronounced right angle emphasis, vertical and horizontal sweeps on its dial. Now, there is a almost austere, very machine-like font to the numerals on the dial. Again, they're not floral, they're not breguet, they're not hand-painted or in any way expressionist. They're not exuberant numerals. They're very cool, almost austere, but almost, not quite. Now, it's the inner dial that relieves a little bit of that austerity with a beautiful rose-lathe guillot-shaped pattern that runs from top to bottom. You can see that there's an inner minute track that's carved out separate from the outer frosted silver hour track, and then inboard a countersunk second subdial at 6 o'clock. It's also enlivened by a flash of color. You can see that the broadsword style hands are actually cobalt and heat oxidized to make them blue, adding a little bit of color to enliven this otherwise super cool silvered dial. Now the watch does feature an in-house Jaeger-LeCoultre caliber 822 movement, so 21 joules, 134 parts, 45-hour power reserve, manual winding, and I'll add that winding the watch is a tactile pleasure. It also has a wonderful click to the ratchet, so a very satisfying watch to wind every day. It has a 3 Hz or 21,600 vibration per hour beat rate, so when you hold it up to your ear, it does have a little bit of a slower vintage cadence to it. Now the Reverso case in the modern era is a work of art. There's a beautiful engine-turned perlage about the cradle or chassis of the watch, and the rotating portion itself achieves 3 ATM water resistance, so even though it is an immensely complicated case with over 50 individual parts involved, it does have rain and splash water resistance nevertheless. This is a fantastic point of entry to the world of the Reverso. I love it so much that I've actually invested in several Grande Taille case Reversos myself, this one being a Reverso Duo, and this one being the Platinum No. 2 Tourbillon. For me, this is a modern classic Reverso size, arguably the best balance between vintage proportions, the immortal golden ratio aspect ratio of the Reverso, and yet at the same time having enough wrist presence to hold its own in the modern watch world. You can see this Reverso Grande Taille 42mm from lug to lug, 26 across, in rose gold on our website, watchyouwant.com.